Patricia Gras, welcome to Passion Time. My guest today is Evangeline Caridas. She's an international management consultant, but she also owns an institute called Synthesi Institute. It is based in Greece. It is, well, she's going to tell you about it, but it has to do with sacred geometry, spirituality, being in the flow, and having meaning in life. So thank you so much for joining us. Before we start, I know you're very passionate about this institute. I want to ask you, how did you find your passion and how are you living your passion?
Well, it took a while to figure out what that was. And my work from flow was very important. And obviously we teach what we need to learn. And I needed to find out what was it that got me into flow. I know that traveling gets me into flow. I know that learning gets me into flow. Studying spiritual mysteries gets me into flow. I love being around people. I love making a difference. I love working on projects, actually helping people tap into their creative gifts, creating practical plans, and actually producing a result. And that's what we're going to do at Synthesi. And the areas we're going to be covering is architecture, agriculture, ecology, music, the arts, sciences, religion, spirituality, wellness, different areas. And we're going to do different projects along those lines. And the first project we're doing has to do with spirituality and religion. And as you mentioned, I have this
little chapel.
Tell me
about the chapel.
And it was inherited from my family. And the chapel, I had a friend of mine who was a very, very spiritual lady. And we were doing some prayer work one time, and she had a vision. Mother Mary actually came into the room and told her to tell me that her feet had actually walked this ground. And I thought that was incredible, because she and St. John supposedly moved to Ephesus, which was a boat ride away from the island,
where you are, yes,
from the island of Samos.
Right.
And she told me that there is a healing vortex that can be along the lines of Lourdes and Fatima, places where people who have faith can go and get healing.
Healed, right.
So we figured out it was in the chapel, and then I started doing lots of research about, well, what is it about these vortexes? Where are they? And what we came to find out was that they're all over the world. There's a light grid, and there's especially quite a few in Greece. And they're actually lines of light, ley lines that connect to the Earth's energy, and they're positive ley lines and they're negative ley lines. And I'll give you an example of the positive ones in a minute, but also to counter that, the negative ley lines are an example of the Bermuda Triangle and places around the Earth where the energy, you probably want to avoid those places as much as possible.
Right.
So
you don't want to go over the Bermuda Triangle.
Exactly. So I'm focused on the positive ley lines.
Exactly.
And so there is a line all the way from Mount Olympus, where the gods supposedly dwelled in Greece, all the way to Samos.
Okay.
And there was a temple of Hera. And so the ancients figured out, using sacred geometry, that's why I've been such a student of Pythagoras, that's actually the mathematics of creation. And they figured out through equilateral triangles and the golden mean where these vortexes were, and they would actually build their temples on top of these vortexes. And so there's a temple of Hera, but there are vortexes all over this island. And we figured there was one right in the chapel. An interesting thing, during World War II, my property, my grandfather's property, was occupied by the Nazis. And the Nazis, of course, were, and you know, Hitler was pursuing all these ancient mystical artifacts.
Exactly.
And so we figured they figured out where this vortex was, and that's why they, out of all the farms, they picked my grandfather's farm to go there. And they were, you know, obviously doing something with the energy there. It's just like Raiders of the Lost Ark. That was a spoof, but there was some reality to it.
Oh, sure. It's all, well, yeah, it's like
Definitely.
Harry Potter also is based on some of these things, yes.
But anyway, so the ancients built these built these temples on top of the vortexes. And then when Christianity came, they actually tore down some of the temples and built right on top. I mean, I don't know if they knew that those were sacred places that the ancients had, or they just wanted to get rid of the pagan temple and build on top.
Right.
I'm not sure. But what I know is that I believe that the Pythagoreans would go to these places, and all the ancients, so spiritual initiates, would go to these places because they were higher forms of, you could tap into the collective unconscious. You could download information from being in these places, and they would meditate. The Pythagoreans had to go through a whole process of, they would get tested whether they're even worthy to join the order. They would do purification, which would mean you'd have to really take a look at your mental, emotional, spiritual self, and where were you short. If you've got an anger problem, you had to work on that before you could do anything. And so they would find these places, and I believe that they would meditate and download all the great things that came from the philosophers and the spiritual initiates. Jesus would go to the mountain to pray.
Right.
Moses would go to the mountain and pray.
Right.
And I believe that that's what they did, and that's why we got all these incredible contributions from the Greeks, that they were able to tap into that energy.
So ultimately, you want to, I know the chapel is in a bad state, so you need to rebuild the chapel.
Right.
So you're in a process to make this happen. Tell me what the process is.
Well, the process is we've formed the Institute. That's in, the 501c3 is in progress. We're getting ready to have a fundraiser sometime this year. And we're going to do tours, obviously there, and we're going to take people there to the sacred sites. And the fundraiser will be something where people can make a contribution to this church, and they will, of course, get their name on a plaque. If they want to go, we'll take them there, and we'll show them all over the place. And so it's evolving in terms of a strategy. The first project, and I met a man who was very interesting. He was in a concentration camp, and a very nice Jewish man, and a Christian lady actually saved his life. He was a child, and there were a group of little children that she saved. And so he helped, I thought, well, gee, he's Jewish, why would he help me? And this is a Christian church. But he didn't care, because he said, I want to make a contribution, because my father was so proud of me and what I accomplished, that I want to give back. And so he's helping me with this project.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. And so the church was an Eastern Orthodox church?
It's an Eastern Orthodox church.
Was there a name for the church?
It's the Little Chapel of Mother Mary.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, Evangeline Caridas, thank you so much for joining us once again. What is the website for if people want more information on the Institute?
It's www.synthesi, synthei, institute.com.
So if you want to go to Greece and have a good time and go to St. Mary's Chapel, talk to Evangeline. I'm coming. See you there. All right. Thank you for watching Passion Time, and we'll see you next week.
Yo sé que tú puedes, que tú eres capaz. Cambia tu vida. La vida es una y tú vas a triunfar. Cambia tu vida. Con fe y esperanza, las puertas